Have you ever wondered if there is a difference between a man and a woman's arousal? Is there even a proof that there is? Well, today's video is going to tell you about whether or not there's a difference and what, if any, differences there are. I am Celine Remy, the intimacy angel.
And I'm Kevin Anthony, the truth warrior. And if you've ever tried the thing that works for you and it didn't work on them, then make sure that you like, share, and subscribe.
So they've done some studies where they looked at MRIs and different brain scans to figure out, is there a difference when we look at men and women's brains and they get aroused? And at first they said, oh, yes, there is a difference. Then they redid the studies and they were like, well, actually, we were wrong. There's not really any difference in terms of the arousal and what happens in the brain. The only differences that they could see was whether or not the subject was subjected to a video versus a picture, to the type of arousal, and maybe to how people responded to certain type of arousals. But their brain, once aroused, were lit up in the same areas.
Yeah, or not even necessarily in the same areas, but where it was different, when it lit up in a different area, it didn't correlate with whether or not they were a man or a woman. It had to do with the type of stimulation that they were given and what their personal views of that stimulation were. So if somebody was shown, say, pornography and they had positive associations with it, versus negative, you would see different areas of the brain light up. So what science is basically telling us is there is no difference in the way the brain reacts. However, that obviously does not tell the whole story, because we can observe that there are definitely differences between the way a man and a woman react. So we have a couple of those and we're going to share them with you.
And I also wanted to bring this concept because there is this misconception about like, oh, for women, it doesn't work or this or that. Really, it's not a gender thing. It's a personal preference. Now, let's look at some of the things that tend to be more of a generality. So number one, it seems that it takes a little bit longer for women to get going and get aroused. It's imagining that as a man, the energy feels like fire and it's easy to just get this fire going, but then the fire dies off. For a woman, we kind of see the energy as water, and the water then is boiling, and it takes a little bit of time to get it to that boiling state. But once it's boiling, it can go for a long time.
I mean, pretty much everybody has probably experienced that it just simply takes a little bit longer for most women to get aroused. I know there's a few women out there, no way, I'm aroused in 30 seconds, just like my man. Yeah, okay, you're an outlier. But for most women, it takes a little longer. Number two, the signs are more subtle. Pretty much everybody knows the signs when a man is turned on. There's something bulging. It's pretty obvious, right? We as men have outward physical signs that you can very clearly see, and there's no mistaking what that sign means.
Well, the signs are happening similarly for us, but the internal. And unless you've seen pictures of what happens when you're aroused and you get this internal erection and similar things to what a man is having, but it's all inside, then you don't really know what's going on. You don't always feel it, which kind of leads to our point number three.
Sure does.
And this is the biggest one, because women are most likely to suppress their physical sensations. And this is also backed up by science and personal experience and working with thousands of women. What we mean by that is that there's often a disconnect between her head and her body. She might be thinking, I'm not aroused, I'm not ready, I'm not turned on. And yet her body is open and responding and ready. But that connection is not happening the same. Or maybe it is her just suppressing the physical sensations because of programming of how she's taught herself to be sexual, because maybe, good girls, they behave a certain way and there's things you should do and shouldn't do.
The problem with that, or the challenge with that, is that because the signs and symptoms are more subtle and potentially internal, if she's also suppressing it, then you don't really know where she's at. Whereas, for instance, with a man, he can try to pretend all he wants that he's not turned on, but if he has an erection, he's obviously turned on, right? There's just no suppressing that. So, one of the main differences there is knowing that she may be turned on even though you can't see the outward signs, and she may be suppressing that so it may appear as though she's not.
So the bottom line comes down to, when it comes to arousal, both men and women are equally capable of being aroused. What tends to happen is that our heads gets in our own way. And sometimes, because of all of this chatter and women having diffuse awareness compared to men having this single focus, it takes us a while to travel our way down from our head to our bodies and start to be in sync and feel it all. But ultimately, if you take a little bit more time, slow things down, pay attention to the signs, to what's going on, help her see that she is aroused and make the connection so that she can start to feel like, oh, I may not be feeling it, but you're right, my pussy is wet or my labia is engorged or whatever is happening, then it can help her to start to make new links and connection in her body. We hope today's video was helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in our next video.